All right, good morning. Welcome everyone to this 1 hour Intro to Pilates webinar. My name is Megan, and I'm an instructor at Pilates on Harrison, which is a small studio, for those of you who aren't familiar with us, located in Madison, Wisconsin. And we offer one-on-one instruction as well as a really nice variety of online classes. And our online classes, like I said, there's a nice variety. We have something called Mindful Cardio. We have a Pilates and strength class. We have a lot of just Pilates classes from beginning to intermediate levels. And we have Pilates and yoga. We have something called Movement Lab. But one thing that all of our teachers have in common is a grounding in kind of classical fundamental Pilates work. So every couple of months, we offer a 6-session intro series that's designed to introduce you to the fundamental exercises of Pilates mat work. And the goal is to give you what you need to feel comfortable jumping in and joining any of our beginning to intermediate online classes, or simply just going back to your existing Pilates routine with maybe a little more information about how to find the deepest, most effective work and just get the most out of your time on your mat. And I'll just add in, and I'll talk about this later, how much Pilates helps me in all my activities. So even if you only take this class once and never do Pilates again, I think you'll learn something just about your body and moving it with comfort and ease throughout the day. So that may be ambitious for 6 sessions, but that's my aim in teaching it. So anyway, my plan this morning is to talk a little bit about Pilates, to answer any questions you might have about Pilates or the intro series, and if we have time, we'll do a little moving together. So just briefly, yeah, I am a very loose jointed sort of hyper flexible person, and I grew up, I was drawn to yoga. My mom did yoga, but she also has a very loose jointed body. And yeah, it seemed like something I was good at because I could kind of contort and stretch myself into all these crazy positions. But and it feels good to stretch and breathe and everything. But as life went on, I just started to get more pain in my neck, in my back, and I was playing pickup soccer one day, and I sort of landed wrong on my ankle, and my knee gave out, and I tore my ACL, and I was just kind of falling apart at the seams. And it was around that time that someone suggested that I try Pilates. And I did. That's when I started working with Colette, and Scott had been my yoga teacher. So the people who own the studio that I teach at have been my primary teachers in both yoga and Pilates. But switching over and getting these foundational Pilates work under my belt, like it put the floor back under my yoga practice. And it enabled me to return to all my activities in a much more stable, healthy, and supported way. So I can just literally say the way I sit in a chair, the way I get up from a chair, the way I do yoga, all so different now. And just part of this journey of understanding my body and how to move better and more efficiently. And just anecdotally, this winter, because we switched to this online mode and I was teaching classes every week, and I was demonstrating everything I was teaching because I wasn't looking at the people I was teaching because we were doing it on Zoom. I got so strong this winter, and I was cross country skiing, and then now I've started biking, and I bike with a friend of mine who I literally thought there was no way that I would ever even catch up to him. Like I was always just lagging behind, and I thought he was being very patient, letting me go on bike rides with him. This spring, I got on my bike and I passed him going up a hill. I couldn't believe it. So Pilates will make you stronger and efficient, and you can carry that over into the other things you do in your daily life. That's just my little plug. Pilates is definitely hard work. I mean, it's work, but I think of it as the kind of work that realigns your body to move um, in ways that make everything easier. So it's hard just because you're getting your muscles working, but it's actually this hard that makes things easier. It makes you align with the forces of gravity. It allows the natural flow of energy and ease that's available to you when you're moving from a strong and grounded center. So to Jake, to your point about the core, absolutely, that's kind of the foundation that when you strengthen your core, it allows all your extremities to move with so much more ease because they're supported, rooted right down into the ground. And so you're using gravity, using these immense forces of nature to support your little daily movements as a little body on this planet. Um, and for me personally, in the way I think about it is there's this shift from the mentality of lifting weights, like no pain, no gain, exert, strain, um, to the question of where is the ease? Like, where's the ease in this? What is the most efficient way to make this movement? How can I bring the joy and flow back into my movements and back into my life? Um, so that's a little bit of kind of broad strokes Pilates. And I'm going to give a little talk now about where Pilates comes from. I think it's kind of cool. I'm going to do a slideshow. Well, you'll meet Joe. So let's share screen. Okay. So there's Joe at the height of his glory. So Pilates was developed by a man named Joe Pilates. He was born in Germany in the 1880s, and he was a very sick and weakly child who had a number of childhood diseases, rickets and rheumatic fever. And he was kind of obsessed. He was really determined to build his health and strength from a really young age. So he started studying all different physical fitness systems and observing the natural movement of animals. And by the age of 14, he was modeling for anatomical charts because his muscles were so kind of defined and clear. So this was the beginning of his lifelong commitment to studying health in the human body. He studied everything from yoga and Zen to ancient Greek and Roman regimens. He eventually trained as a boxer and a gymnast and moved to England, where he was interned, basically arrested, when World War I broke out, and he was confined to an internment camp for the duration of the war. Hold on, maybe if I advance these, here we go. So it was during these 4 years, these are pictures from the internment camp. So just huge numbers of people behind barbed wire with very little to do on an island off of the coast of England. And he was surrounded by people who were essentially wasting away in a kind of depressed, listless state. It actually has a name. It's called barbed wire disease. And it was then that his work and studies started to really gel and develop into the work that we now know as Pilates. Because he was observing people, watching them kind of sink into this torpor. And he was also watching these stray cats who hunted around the camp, who still had energy in their eyes and in their limbs and in their movements. And he started really figuring out how to bring life and energy and strength back into the people, into the subdued humans around him. So he started working with the other internees and training them with his exercise routines. And he came up also with these ingenious ways of working with people who were bedridden. And there was a camp hospital, and he was allowed to work with the inmates who were in the hospital, but wasn't allowed to let them get out of bed. So he started taking the bed springs and attaching them to the bed and creating these ways to help people exercise without getting out of bed. And that is the beginning. That's where the Pilates equipment that Cynthia mentioned, there's a whole bunch of different contraptions now. You can see sort of where this is a modern day, it's called the Cadillac, but you can see where it came from. So this is one of the contraptions, one of these big things that we have in the studio. There's Cadillacs and reformers, and there's something called the chair too. But he also was developing a whole body of work called the Pilates mat work, which is what we do in our online classes. And it's very portable. It can be done anywhere with a mat on the floor. And this is what, this is what he was doing with most of the people in the camp. And he was very proud to tell the story that none of the internees in his camp that were working with him were stricken by the influenza pandemic that were ravaging the world. So he really felt so strongly that Pilates was this full body kind of health system. So here's a picture. I believe that's Joe doing some of the mat work. Some of these are pretty advanced moves, but just so you can get a sense of his kind of, you can kind of get his personality a little bit too, I think. He's a very intense guy. But here's a picture. So it was originally called Contrology. And this is just a couple of pictures. You can get this idea that he really thought of it as something that addressed mind, body, and spirit. And then the title of his book, Return to Life Through Contrology, gives you a sense of what I think is really important actually about this story and about Pilates in general is that a lot of studios may teach, let me turn off the share for just a second so I can look at you again. There we go. So a lot of gyms and studios teach Pilates as an exercise class, but what Joe's understanding of what he was doing was really accessing so much more than that, the full potential of the human body to move with strength, grace, and ease by liberating the natural flow of health and vitality that's available to a healthy body. And I think that's, I'd love to hear from folks who have been taking Pilates with us for a while, if that resonates with you, but I think that that's kind of underlies the work we do here at Pilates on Harrison. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what makes Pilates Pilates, and then we'll have time for some questions and comments too. So there are 6 principles of Pilates, and let's go back to the share now. These are Pilates quotes. So there's 6 principles of Pilates: center, control, coordination, precision, breath, and flow. And the exercises focus strongly on deep core muscles, abdominals, the muscles around the spine and the pelvic floor, with the idea that from a strong center, your limbs can move freely and with support. Putting the work in the right place, we can find ease through the rest of the body. And unlike other exercise methods that are focused on developing individual muscles like a bicep curl, Pilates is a series of exercises designed as whole body exercises that are really designed to educate and balance the muscles of the body. So there's really a lot, like in order for your hip flexors to release, your hamstrings have to be able to turn on. In order for your hamstrings to be able to turn on, your hip flexors have to release. In order for your hip flexors to release and your hamstrings to turn on, your low belly has to be able to work. So we start to kind of unlock these patterns that allow your body to return to this. I think of it as a dance, like there's a dance that has to happen between the back of your leg, your hamstrings, and your quadriceps. And if there's no interaction and dynamic exchange between those muscles, we just get locked down and we're fighting ourselves a lot of the time. Your hamstrings and your quads are just like locked against each other, as opposed to moving freely and openly. And that that's just exciting when you can kind of open that back up and feel like, oh my gosh, I can move in a way that I didn't even think was possible. So working your muscles in a lengthened capacity is a big part of what Pilates does. It increases flexibility, decompresses the joints, and reduces compression in general by working in an elongated place. We work with the fullness of breath because breath has so much potential to um, bring movement and health. So like in a fully liberated body, let's say, um, your inhale, it moves every bone in your body responds to your inhale. Your rib cage moves, and that gives a little movement into your collarbones. The collarbones translates to a little movement into your arms, translates down to your forearms, translates out to your fingers. So in this very ideal space, you would inhale and your little bones in your toes would move. So we work with the fullness of breath and then trying to get that flow back through into the body. And then Pilates also incorporates elements of mindfulness because attention to alignment and precision, and coordination and breath, as well as internal experience is key. So in order to do all these things, your mind, a lot of people say, oh my God, I'm working so hard in my brain to do these exercises, which is nice. It really takes whatever you're worried about during the day, believe me, you will not be thinking about it during your Pilates class. Um, and then the result is ideally, when the classes go well, you get a feeling of flow, groundedness, strength and ease, and you might feel longer and taller and more energized at the end. And at our studio, and I guess in my class in particular, I really, this is how, I think about what I'm doing. And I break things down. I walk you through the steps. I'll explain the anatomy. I'll show you not only the what of the exercises, but the why and the how. And yeah, that is, I think, here's Pilates at 82. At 57 on the left, you can believe that, and then at 82 on the right. So let's start. Wherever you're sitting, just find a comfortable position and see if you can get a sense of your ribs stacked above your hips. So just sort of sitting upright over your hips, over your sitting bones. And then as best as you can, seeing if you can get your head over your shoulders. Don't strain to do it, but just kind of bringing a little bit of awareness to having your ears kind of stacked over your shoulders. And we're going to start with just a little bit of a head nod. And the idea of this is to kind of rotate your head on the axis. So you're not trying to bring your head, you're not trying to look down in front of you. You're trying to sort of just drop your chin and let the back of your head flow up behind you. And you're just going to notice what it feels like. So you're just doing a tiny little drop of your chin. You can see it's not a big movement. And my head isn't shifting off its axis. My ears are staying over my shoulders. And I'm just nodding my head. And you're going to do that a couple times. And you're just going to check in and see what it feels like in the back of your neck. Just notice where there might be tightness or pull, or maybe there's nothing, but just noticing what it feels like to kind of try to drop your chin without changing where your ears are. And once you have a feeling for that, I'm going to share my screen with you again. I'm going to look at the back of the neck. So here's our skeleton. And here's our neck vertebrae. And there's 7 vertebrae, starting way up here at the top and going way all the way down here. And you'll notice that between each, there's this little spine that sticks off the back of the vertebra. And then between each spine, there's this black space. And as you drop your chin, you can imagine that space opening up, the spines of the vertebrae literally moving apart from each other. Space opening up between each vertebrae and the back of the neck in order to allow the back of your head to float up and your chin to flow down. So take that movement one more time, but this time, you're going to sit back up, you're going to stack your head over your shoulders, and you're just going to take a minute before you even start and imagine. You can look at the picture and you can imagine those little spines in the back of your own neck. And this time, you're just going to imagine trying to allow those spines to move away from each other. So you can imagine space opening up between them. And you could almost start there, like that's where the movement starts. Space opening up between those bones to allow your head to drop. As your chin drops, as the back of your head rises up, imagining space opening up between those bones. And just take a couple little nods. If it helps you to look at that image while you're doing it, you can do that. If it helps you to close your eyes and really just kind of map that image onto your own neck and imagine that space opening up between your vertebrae, you can do that. And just see if that feels any different from how it felt when you just dropped your chin without any picture in your mind. And I'd love to see if anyone in the chat has a response to that question. I'd love to know, did it feel different or did it feel the same? And what was the difference if you felt a difference? Let's take a moment, play with the movement and see. And you can unmute yourself or just say, I didn't feel the thing. Or, and if nobody has anything to say, we'll move on. But if you do, go ahead and chat it in. Okay, we're going to add one more layer on. So I don't know if you felt anything or not, but I'm going to add on some of the muscles. So you have all these muscles, and you can see the deepest ones there that literally um, connect those spinous processes together. So there's some there, and then there's some along the side of the neck connecting the vertebrae together. And then if I keep going, you can see that there's just like a whole bunch of muscles running down the back of the neck, right? Connecting all those vertebrae together. So maybe it worked for you to move. It was crazy different for me and just what I needed. Awesome. Thank you, Monica. I'm glad somebody felt something. Um, and so maybe imagining the bones helped you and maybe it didn't. So let's now look at what it feels like to imagine the muscles releasing it. So now you can either continue working with picturing the bones moving away from each other, or maybe you could imagine the muscles relaxing and releasing into length to allow your chin to drop. So take it again, your choice if you want to picture the muscles lengthening and see how that's different, releasing and allowing the neck to move. So just letting the chin nod down, imagining those muscles, just letting go, releasing and relaxing into length so your chin can drop and the back of your neck can open up. You can have space between the vertebrae and the back body. Great. And we'll just take one more little nod. And then I'll stop the share. And we're going to add a little bit onto this. So we're going to keep the same movement going, but you're going to bring your hands behind your head, one stacked on top of the other. And let your elbows flow forward so you can see them in your peripheral vision. So out of the corners of your eyes, you can see the tips of your elbows. So you're not too crunched in, but you're not wide open. Nice and forward here. And maybe having that support behind your head actually helps you bring your head back in line with your shoulders, because now you have something to reach into with the back of your head. So you can kind of press your head back into your hands. Think of your hands as a little bit of a headrest. Maybe you can relax back into your hands, supporting your head here. Oh, thanks, Jackie. Release your head back into your hands. And you can imagine kind of lengthening your neck up into the support of your hands. And then we're going to try the same thing. You're going to find that little opening space in the back of your neck, but try to keep a little bit of sense of releasing your head back into your hands. So there's a little pressure coming forward from your hands, and there's a little pressure pressing back from your neck. So that's keeping your muscles relaxed and long. And then see if you can open up the space behind your neck again. This time your head comes forward a little bit, but it's not dropping forward because it's still pressing back into your hands. So letting your head come forward a little bit, and then pressing back to bring it back up. And then it's coming forward, but it's still pressing back into your hands. So it's this kind of interesting thing where you're trying to let your head come forward, but still find pressure back into your hands. And then press it back up. Good. We'll take it a little bit further now. So your vertebrae, hold on one second. They don't just end at your neck, believe it or not. They actually go down your entire spine. So we have the same spaces between the vertebrae, our thoracic spine, moving down, you can see. And so we can continue that imagery going down a little bit further. So hands behind your head, elbows forward in your peripheral vision, head releasing back into your hands. And we're gonna open up the back of the neck, little gentle nod forward. And then you're gonna start to open up the muscles and the space between the vertebrae and your upper back. And maybe you can come forward into what looks like a little bit of a crunch position here. But if you're still releasing your head back into your hands, you should have a sense of being long and lifted. It's quite different from just folding forward like this. It's this up and over feeling. Your head's pressing back into your hands, and you're finding space in your spine without really shortening your spine behind you. And then press back up. One more time like this. Opening up the back of your neck. And then the back, right between your shoulders, those spine bones moving apart. Great. Just exploring a little bit here. And then let's come back on our backs. If you need a moment to find a spot on the floor, we're not going to do any rolling. So if you don't have a mat, if you just have a rug, you should be fine. But yeah, if you want to continue along this little trip with me, go ahead and lie back on your back. If you want to put something under your head, you can do that. If you just want to lie right back on your back, that's also fine. So lie back on your back with your knees up, feet flat on the floor. And let's take a moment here and just find the breath, find the body, find the weight of the body connecting into the floor. So just letting your body kind of land here in the horizontal position. And then finding your exhale. And letting your exhale get a little bit longer than your inhale. So just let your exhale kind of linger and extend. And see if that little extra exhale time can allow you to release any holding or tension that you might find in your body. So if there's tension in your hips, tension in your neck, tension in your shoulders, use those little extra moments of exhale to see if that can drop away and just release into the floor. So if your inhale's taking 3 counts, let's make sure your exhale's taking at least 5 counts. And deeply relaxing and letting go at the very bottom of the exhale. Great. Bring your hands to your low ribs. And let's see how our ribs move on the exhale. So as you exhale and you find that extra long exhale, see if you can feel your ribs moving towards each other to make that exhale as long as possible. Letting the ribs travel into towards each other. Maybe your fingers come in towards each other if they're resting on your ribs. And there's maybe a sense that your exhale is grounding you into the floor. Your ribs are moving down towards your spine. Your belly's getting narrower. And just take 1 or 2 more breaths like that. Nice long exhale, ribs engaging and connecting. And then let's come back up to the head and neck. So first, just take a couple head nods where you just let your back of your head kind of roll against the ground and your chin drop towards your chest, and imagine those bones opening up behind you. And then let's bring the hands behind the head. Find your elbows in your peripheral vision, same position we had sitting up. Find your exhale again here. Find your ribs rooting down on your exhale. And the next time you exhale, the next time your ribs come together and ground, you're going to start opening up the back of your neck. You're going to start that movement of trying to release and open the vertebrae of your neck. Your head's gently pressing back into your hands and you're curling up. But don't think about curling up. Think about opening your spine up behind you. And then lower back down. And we're just going to take a couple more like that. The exhale connects the ribs and draws the ribs down into the ground and allows you to open your spine up behind you so that your head, neck, and shoulders peel off the floor. And maybe it's just your head peeling today. Eventually we'll move towards opening up all the way down to the thoracic spine so your head, neck, and shoulders can come up. Today, just explore how far you can come and still keep that sense of space between your vertebrae behind you. Take 2 more. Beautiful. So this is kind of the progression that we'll be working with, moving towards an exercise called the 100 in Pilates. And the 100, it looks like, I'll show you the end version of what the 100 looks like. So your knees and feet will be up, your heels will be together, toes apart. You're going to come up into that curl position And you'll pump your arms 5 times on an inhale and 5 times on an exhale for 10 breaths. But we're going to move into that really slowly. So what I just taught you was the very beginning part of that, curling up and hopefully doing so in a way that doesn't give you doesn't hurt your neck, doesn't tire you out in the neck. It focuses the work on the abs and on actually releasing and extending the back of the neck. So we can take just one more step in this progression if you want to explore a little further. We're going to practice the breathing. So let's have the elbows up. Make sure you can see them in your peripheral vision. The exhale is going to bring your ribs together and down. You're going to feel the spine bones opening up behind you as you curl up to look into your belly. Doesn't matter how far you come today, just see if you can find space in your back of your neck. A little press back into your hands with your head. Inhale, hold it here. And exhale, see if you can find a little more space behind you. Lower back down. And coming up again. Exhale, ribs ground, back of the neck opens, head stays a little bit heavy in your hands. Inhale, stay here. Exhale, come a little higher. A little bit more space between the spine bones and lower back down. Okay. One more piece and then we'll be done with this. So for those of you who are interested in trying out a little bit of the breath work, we'll take that again. Exhale, knit the ribs. Ribs grounding allows head, neck, and shoulders to open and release. Inhale here. Let's exhale, take one arm out by our side and try to find 5 pumps of your arm on the exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if you can stay up, you can take 5 on the inhale. And 5 on the exhale. And inhale, lower back down. Let's try that one more time. We'll take the other hand out this time. Exhale, ground the ribs. Open up the back of your neck. Open up the back of your spine between your shoulder blades. Heel up as high as you come. It doesn't matter how high. Inhale here. Bring your arm alongside your body and exhale for 5 pumps of your arm. And inhale for 5 pumps. Exhale for 5. And lower back down. Okay. So I'm going to roll onto my side. You can roll onto your side and come and sit up. And we'll just check in. So that was kind of a little bit of a taste of how we move into it. So there's lots of opportunities to keep going, and also lots of opportunities to pause and just work right where you're finding, oh, I just found this sense of release in my neck, but I only can keep it when I get up this far. So that's what I'm going to do today. So, it's a lot in your hands to stay within the range of where you're finding useful work. But I try to give lots of opportunities to check in with yourself and see where that might be along the way. And then we build towards these full body exercises that leave you feeling really good at the end. So any questions about that little sequence that we did? I'll just, the chat's open, so if anything comes up, feel free to drop it in there. Any comments, either way, if it was confusing or if it was helpful, I'm open to either. And then I'll just move into just giving you a little overview, I guess, of the studio and the details of the intro series, and then continue to take any questions. So I'll share the screen again. here. So let me just go back quick. So here's a just sort of to give you a visual of some of our offerings. That's Scott, one of our instructors, doing his mindful cardio, which involves a half hour of cardio, and then actually I don't know that, I think maybe it's, yes, 30, 20, 10. So a half hour of cardio, 20 minutes of movement lab, which is a combination of Pilates and yoga and calisthenics, and then he does 10 minutes of meditation. So anyway, just to give you a sense of these are our online offerings. There's like 20 some classes to choose from every week, and there's a subscription, monthly subscription, where you have access to the video library, so you can see all the week's classes at any time whenever it's convenient for you. We do special seminars and workshops on the weekend. There's one free class every Saturday that's half Pilates and half movement lab. And we also have a pay what you can option. So if the monthly subscription doesn't work for your budget, you can just let us know what you want to pay and have access to all the same things everyone else does. And the free Saturday class is, I think, a really nice complement to what we'll be doing for the intro series, because you'll be doing Pilates 2 times a week with me. And then if you add on the Saturday class, you get a feeling of what it's like to do Pilates 3 times a week, which is really great. What we learn in the Pilates intro series is about the first 12 exercises of the mat sequence. And on the right of this slide, you can see a picture of the mat card, and I've made an X next to the exercises we're going to learn. So we're learning, a lot of the basic mat work together. And hopefully, yeah, it just sets you up really nicely to jump into other Pilates classes, join a community, and feel good in your life doing all the stuff you love to do. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining me, everyone. That takes us to just about the end. I'll stick around. I'll stop the recording if anyone's feeling shy about that. Let me say like a couple other things. Oh yeah, so the intro series starts on Tuesday. It runs Tuesday, Thursday for 3 weeks, except there's one Tuesday I won't be here. So we skip Tuesday the 30th, and then we go until Tuesday I think it's the 13th. Anyway, it's basically Tuesday, Thursday, except for one Tuesday that we skip over. You will have access to a video library. So if you can't make the classes in person, they will all be available for up to 2 weeks after the end of the class. So you can kind of take it over 8 weeks if you need to, and you can certainly take it at a different time if the time that we're teaching it at doesn't work for you. Coming in person is great because you can ask questions and you can stick around after and be live with me. But if you can't do that, you can see everything that you would have if you'd been in class. Okay, now I'll stop the recording.